Welcome to English Impulse, the podcast for English learners and, well, basically everyone.
And welcome to our Business Impulse section, where we are looking to improve your business English skills. We'll walk you through real-life situations and show you how to handle them with confidence. Hi, Claire.
Hi, Annie.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Business Impulse. Today we're asking a question that's appearing in boardrooms, universities, LinkedIn posts, and probably in a lot of bar talk. Will I still have a job?
Oh.
Yeah, and it's not the first time we've asked that question. I mean, back in the 1970s, early 80s.
I was there.
Yeah, me too, just maybe a little smaller. The Western world was going through an enormous economic change. All of a sudden, shipbuilding, coal mines, heavy industries, all of these were just disappearing. And then suddenly, entire communities found themselves without work.
Yes, entire communities. And I remember this incredible TV drama, and it was called Boys from the Black Stuff, and it captured the despair of that period.
Huh.
And there was one character, Yusser Hughes, who was slowly being pushed towards a breakdown by this massive employment in the area.
Yeah.
And he just used to follow everybody around or looking for a job, and he'd just say, I can do that, gives a job.
Aww.
And people were repeating a lot, and it was kind of funny, but it was funny but sad because he wasn't asking for charity. He was asking for a purpose, for dignity, for a chance to contribute.
Right. Yeah.
And what makes that, for me, is what makes today's debate about AI so interesting, because 40 years ago the fear was that machines and economic change were destroying industrial jobs. And now today the fear is that artificial intelligence might do the same to professional and knowledge-based jobs.
That's right. But history also teaches us something important. It isn't simply about whether jobs are going to disappear. The question is whether new jobs are going to appear quick enough, because that was one of the big problems in the 70s and 80s. And we just weren't able to get workers to transition fast enough into these new jobs as they slowly appeared.
Yeah.
And that just brings us back to the same question of today, will I still have a job? Because it really depends on who you are, what you do, how the work is evolving.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not the same. For example, a graduate might be thinking, what skills should I build?
Yeah.
A mid-career professional might be asking, how do I stay relevant in my job?
That's right. I ask that question daily.
Yeah. And then somebody like me approaching retirement might be wondering how much disruption will affect me personally. So the answer, it just isn't the same for everyone.
No, it really isn't. And it's not the same for everyone in the sense that the jobs that are currently disappearing, as we speak, are heavily jobs that women do.
Yes.
And so we can easily say that they're being disproportionately affected by AI. And that's something that we need to take in consideration, especially things like administrative tasks, document preparation, scheduling, reporting. All of these things are disappearing on a daily basis.
Yeah, because when people imagine automation, they often think of robots replacing factory workers.
Right.
But this time, the disruption may hit office work.
I know. For decades, we worried about machines replacing blue-collar jobs. But now the software, it's replacing white-collar jobs.
Yeah, and that's when the concern becomes more popular, if you like. For the last 2 or 3 decades, young people were used to the idea that two people had to work to maintain this mortgage, to maintain childcare, basically the cost of living costs, which are going up constantly.
That's right.
So suddenly, if one person is going to lose their job, we're back to the same situation in the 70s and 80s. It's devastating.
It is. No, because all of a sudden you hear something that 10%, 15%, or 20% of the jobs are going to disappear and can be radically transformed. And you're not just listening to a statistic, you're all of a sudden thinking, how are we going to pay the rent? How are we going to keep up the childcare? How are we going to buy that new car? All these daily life things that people are owning and have been building their lives on for the last 10, 20 years.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I was around the 70s and 80s, but I was quite young, actually. And I do remember the word mortgage.
Right.
And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know who he was. All I knew that
He was a monster.
Exactly, but all I knew at news time, my parents listened to the news, and the word appeared a lot.
Yeah.
And I could see panic in their faces.
Oh, that's so sad.
So suddenly it became this thing, this threat to your lifestyle, to your standard of living.
Yeah.
And I think we're seeing it repeated now.
Of course, because then you eventually grew up and you got yourself a mortgage, right? And you started realizing now this monster is in your life.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now he's in everyone's life.
But and their life depends on their needs to incomes.
Well, you know what, I think that's a big thing that needs to be considered here as well. Like, it's true that 10 white-collar, middle-upper-class families tend to live a middle-upper-class lifestyle, which is what you were explaining earlier, no? Losing one of those incomes can destroy that lifestyle.
Exactly.
It's not easy to maintain that level of life because the more you have, the more you spend, right? Well, maybe the lesson that we should learn from that TV show that you mentioned, what was it, Boys from the
Black Stuff, yeah.
Isn't that technology destroys jobs, but maybe it's that society struggles when workers aren't helped to move into the new ones, and that's where we need to focus our energy as a society, no? Is how to get people into these new jobs that are going to be created.
That's why education, retraining,
that's right, yes,
lifelong learning, it becomes so important. You know, if work is going to change every decade or so, then we can't stop learning.
No, of course not. And let's put us in the most pessimistic, perspective out there. Suppose 20% of the current jobs disappear or require far fewer workers. What happens next? Are we talking about mass unemployment, or do we just end up in different jobs? Like, how are we going to respond to this?
Well, history again suggests that the humans are remarkably good at inventing new jobs. But the problem also is that the transition can be messy, painful, unequal, as we see now.
Yeah.
And that's the part we should probably be discussing more.
Right. Yeah. Yes. I mean, clearly we need to be flexible and we need to be able to reinvent ourselves. But maybe, I don't know, I think about my children, what are they going to be studying? And they need to go to university in maybe 5 years, 6 years. I have no idea what to tell them to go into.
Okay, but you do know what they shouldn't go into.
That's right. Yes.
So that's, I think that's the way of saying. So what are the professions that are definitely don't go there?
Right. Well, unfortunately, a lot of them are any kind of administrative and clerical work. No, customer support has disappeared almost already. But there's also things like paralegal work, that is interesting work.
Yes, it's not just menial administrative work, menial white-collar work. It's not.
No.
I mean, it's going to hit different levels.
That's right. I mean, coding is going to probably disappear, at least the entry-level stuff. Basic financial analysts are probably going to disappear. I mean, things like
Basic
that are...
bookkeeping,
Yeah.
And then you look for the jobs that will be safe.
Do you know that?
Well,
I have no idea what the jobs are that will definitely be safe.
I think I can safely say, and just don't quote me on this, that the jobs that will be safe will be teaching. Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, maybe child teaching, yes.
Yes, it will evolve.
But adult learning already looks so different than it did pre-COVID.
No, but again, the human touch. We know
important.
how we just look at the Google Translator. Look how that's evolved. But that is not going to clinch the deal for you in a business negotiation.
Yes, I 100% agree with you on that. And I still say that to people. Yes, that, having that instantaneous translation is great for getting a taxi ride. It's great even maybe in certain situations of renting an apartment, all sorts of things like that. But when you're in a business agreement with somebody from another culture, that translator is not going to be able to tell you all the different cultural differences, all the nuances, all the little things that will persuade the other person to do business with you.
Yes, and you're going to have to go there physically.
That's right.
Because even online isn't good. A Zoom meeting isn't good enough for that all-important business meeting.
Yes, and we know that already because we tried that, right? We've tried that over the last 5-10 years, and it's just not working.
It's not a substitute.
It doesn't replace being in a one-to-one meeting and making that handshake.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt about it. So,
Okay, what other jobs do you think are not disappearing?
I think a lot of the medical profession jobs. I think nursing. Nursing, for example, it's.
I hope that AI will actually alleviate the strain on
there you
nurses.
are.
Like
I think so too.
I think we need more nurses all over the world, and hopefully AI will help them, alleviate some of that struggle.
Yeah, yeah. But I think a lot of the medical professions, I think a lot of those, again, contact with humans.
I think they will be intertwined. I think AI and the real people will be working together. No?
Physios.
Physios, yeah, of course, yes. Physical therapists.
Yes, yeah. Chiropractors.
Chiropractors, right? Yeah, that kind of thing.
All these things. I think sports coaches.
That's right.
They're going to again. Everybody's going to use technology.
Technology is already part of those fields,
but again,
they're not replacing.
It's continuous training. I mean, I began teaching the telex language. Flip charts.
Right. Of course.
And now.
And now we use videos, we use audios, we use all sorts of
and it's DMs
dynamic
and it's PowerPoint and
that's right.
And we've adapted and we've survived.
That's right. Yeah, but we're very adaptable.
Yeah, we are. That's what. Well, I think flexibility is very important, and it will be more important.
It's true. You need to have transferable skills.
Yeah, definitely.
You gave me a really good idea. I think I'm going to tell my daughters to go into being a physical therapist because that will be very helpful for me as well. And I am older, but I have a physical therapist in the family.
Yeah, but I think this. Okay, not a bad idea, but I do think there's a problem, and it's a problem that's happened over the last 20 years. Universities, they tend to churn out too many of one field. One field.
Yes.
For example, engineers. It's like, stop!
I know, stop. We have too many.
Yeah, and I think physios is going the same as well.
You do.
A lot of people have studied that in the last decade and are looking for work, but.
Oh, they pay well, eh?
Yeah, well, maybe there's something else. I don't know. Something else in but definitely I think a lot of jobs in the medical profession will still be.
I think so too.
And
I think you're right.
And in the teaching profession.
Okay, all right. Well, then we've given our listeners
on that positive note.
Yes, exactly. Your skills are still needed, people. So that's what.
Just remember to change them every now and again and learn other ones.
That's right.
And you'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. Well, thanks for listening and talk to you next time.
Okay, bye.
Bye.